What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 55 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best buds from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello.
Hello, Steve. It is Gamescom week, so we're back. We just dropped an episode. We were just here yesterday talking about Cult of the Lamb and Rollerdrome, and here we are again, ready to talk video games yet again. Are you ready? Are you hype?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So this is, of course, an extra episode of the show. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. We're a weekly video game podcast normally. We also have a bunch of other sister shows. If you want to go find all the stuff that we do all over the web, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website. You can come watch us on Twitch. You can follow us on our two channels, a bunch of other good content where I have audio versions and everything. So wherever you get your content, we're there making some stuff for you. And of course, let me remind you that this very special episode of the FlipScreen Games Podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. They are, of course, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Mary Berry, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. Y'all are the realest of the real, and we greatly appreciate you supporting this and all of our sister shows, and for tuning in for 2 episodes this week, because I know that you crazy sons of bitches are going to be here. So I appreciate you for that. So let's dive right into it, because this was a very, very packed presentation. When I saw that it was a 2-hour runtime, knowing that it's a Jeff Keighley joint, I was expecting a fair amount of kind of, no disrespect to Jeff, right? But like, we all know that there's a lot of commercials baked into these things. Usually there's a lot of the needless celebrity appearances and all that kind of nonsense. And we need to
do Jeff bingo cards. Like,
we should.
Kojima. Does Kojima make an appearance?
Kojima, a random celebrity who's here to hawk something unrelated to video games.
Yeah. Confusion as to whether it's an advert or a trailer for a new game, because that happened to me a few times. I was like, what the fuck was this? Someone doing something unrelated to the show. Like, we had stuff about and I know Gamescom is like bigger than Jeff's thing. It's bigger than Opening Night Live, but like, I always find the awards in the middle of these presentations to be so bizarre. We had the same conversation last year when this situation happened. It was a little bit better this year because Melly, who was presenting the awards, was actually on stage rather than some German lady in a box that they like green screened onto the screen. So it was a little bit better this year, but then you had like the weird thing about the Gamescom trees and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that was like craft. Did not expect a car to be on the list. Sorry, there's a spider right there.
No, you're good.
So that's gone.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there was that stuff, but I feel like it was so truncated. Like, a lot of it was like, all right, like, we're gonna talk about the Gamescom tree thing, and then we're moving on, right? It was like,
I also had the benefit that I didn't watch this live, so I skipped a lot of that stuff. Like all the stuff that wasn't announcements, I was able to fast forward through and blitz through.
But I think
it's probably the best way to watch these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a fun to watching it live and like reacting along to it with the audience, and like being on Twitter while people are talking about it and all that stuff is fun. But yeah, like I also watched it time shifted, and like it is nice to be able to kind of just like skip through the stuff that like I didn't watch the whole car segment, right? But I think even
the fact that it was like a Pokemon car, that wasn't enough to get you interested in a car.
No.
Like, what is going to get you interested in
nothing,
a car?
Steve, nothing. But I think even with that, right? Like, even if you were kind of skipping around through any of the non-announcement stuff, it was a dense show. Like, there was a lot of trailers, there was a lot of games shown, and I think in terms of like overall pacing of shows compared to the last couple at bats we've seen from Jeff and company, this one I thought was better. Like, I liked that it was more game oriented, and I do agree with you that like the the kind of awards of it all felt a little bit tacked on, but I know that this isn't actually the primary awards show. There's an additional awards show on Saturday, and that's supposed to be more awards oriented. So assuming that is, right, like they got a couple minor ones out of the way today. It was like all community stuff. Like it was like the most anticipated game on Xbox. And it's like, oh, whatever. Like that's cool, but like who cares, right? Like that's not a big deal, you know? I don't mind those kinds of awards being kind of like quick and we're done, right? Because it's like, yeah, cool. Like it's cool that there's hype around this game, but like it's not like, oh, here, this is this achievement that you're supposed to be able to celebrate with your peers. Like, here's your 30 seconds to talk about your game, right? Like, that feels worse to me.
That was always the thing that we always hated about the Game Awards, right? Was that some people just didn't even get an opportunity to say anything. It was like, and here are these 6 awards, and they just put them on the screen, and they don't even get to see who they were up against or anything. It was very weird. Obviously that wasn't the case here. I agree with you. I think the pacing on the show was pretty good. I felt like it was drawn out in some places. Some of the trailers went on and I was just like, okay, I get it. I get what this game is now. Sure. I don't need to see more of it. I was very disappointed by the amount of CG and serious lack of gameplay across the board in the trailers. There was a couple that were particularly CG heavy.
There was a couple that were particularly egregious where it was just kind of also like and we'll get into the run of the show in a second here, but there was a couple where it was kind of like they're talking a lot about a game, like, oh, this new studio is working on this new IP, and then it's like, okay, but what is it? Like, I don't know how much I took away from this, right? But we'll get into it. So you know, we kicked things off with a look at Everywhere, or everywhere.game, I guess, which I thought was interesting.
No, it's just called Everywhere. The domain's everywhere.game.
Sure, but there was a point where they showed a lower third and they said everywhere.game, like in that.
Oh,
it
no,
was
it's
weird.
Definitely just called Everywhere.
That's okay.
According to the press releases, it is just called Everywhere. Their website is just called Everywhere.
Perfect. So, rough way to start off the show for me, if I'm honest, right? It's very much a NFT metaverse experience type.
Do we know that there's NFTs? Have they confirmed that? Because their website says it seamlessly blends gameplay, adventure, creativity, and discovery in an all-new multi-world gaming experience. But I saw a few people in the Discord talking about it and mention NFTs, and obviously it is a metaverse thing, and they spoke about that on stage.
I'm not sure that they've said anything about it. That's how I've seen it talked about, and that seems to be the general kind of reception around it. But it definitely is they very much, I think, had clear metaverse type, you know, language around the game, right? Where they said that, because they showed a few different gameplay segments where there was like an arena shooter type thing, as well as like some car off-roading and stuff like that. And then they showed some kind of like stuff that kind of gave me like almost like a Second Life or like PlayStation Home, where they were like people like in a shop interacting and stuff. So
it felt like AAA Roblox, where you have all these different experiences within like one engine. And I know it's just built on Unreal Engine, right? So it's not like Roblox in that it's a custom engine that people can build their own games in. It's just loads of different types of little games by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and they showed like multiple different kinds of art styles, you know, like there was everything from like kind of like cartoony looking like forest scenario. There was some like photorealistic, you know, like close up of this guy's face. Like it's tough to pin down what it actually is, you know, and I think comparing it to something like a Roblox is probably quite apt, because they talked a lot about like it being a game about, you know, the players are going to build the world just as much, and it's going to be about being able to express yourself in the world and play the way that you want to play, and no matter what kind of game you like, there should be segments of it that are for you. They talked about wanting to create narrative experiences, but also like sandbox kind of so it is really tough to I think nail down what this game actually is. But
yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't think you can call it a game, because I think it feels more like a platform that it's gonna have multiple games within.
Or at least that's the goal.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean that's the goal. I mean it might never get anywhere. Who knows if they I think if
Nope.
they put NFTs on it, it will go nowhere.
Right. And the wild thing is that it's supposed to come out next year. That's what they said. So that's nuts to me.
Okay.
But yeah, that's
I thought that about a bunch of the games. It was wild, some of the release dates on a bunch of these games. I was just like, really? Like, okay. Like people are getting shorter and shorter with their release dates.
so, here's a thing too. It says everywhere is a new multi-world game experience that blurs the line between reality and the digital world.
Yeah.
I gotta say that leaves me cold. That leaves me ice
VR
cold.
then?
That
So like
concept.
maybe it's VR and it comes to like PSVR 2 or something.
It could be. Here, you know what? I'm gonna pull this up for the folks as well, so they can get a look at it. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Like it. My because like I know that I have a bias against the concept of like a virtual space, right, as like a platform, right, like a metaverse type experience like that, like is definitely just something that doesn't appeal to me. But
I see. I like them. I always loved the concept of PlayStation Home. I used to hang out in Habbo Hotel when I was a teenager. Like I like those as a concept, and I feel like in VR they work really well. Like VR chat is the really great way to go and hang out with friends or meet new people and just like hang out in these virtual spaces where you're all doing something together. I struggle with the bubble and the hype around them because I don't think they are anything new and impressive. I feel like we've been doing that kind of thing forever. Everyone wants to
yeah,
carve their own part of the internet out for themselves, and these companies are all pitching it as if it's like the the new beginning, and it's really not. It feels like old hat to me, and it really just feels like a way for them to get investment because it's the latest hype words that investors want to hear. They hear metaverse, they hear NFTs, they hear this, they hear that, and they jump on board, and it sucks,
and
but
I
that's
I,
what
I
has to be
think
done.
for me what I struggle with is I think the stuff that you're describing, like that has been successful in this space, is less a game, right? And like it's literally a game. I don't say that pejoratively, right? Like I'm like I have nothing against PlayStation Home or Second Life or any of those types of games, but like
Mhm.
gameplay is not what people came to those games for. They or like VR chat, right? Like that is a social experience.
Yeah.
And it's not about gameplay, it's about community. Or interacting with people. And like when I look at this where it's like, oh, it's a multi-game world and it's like some of it is like photorealistic, humans, and some of it's like sci-fi and some of it's fantasy and there's car racing and there's arena shoot. It's like there's no way that you built all these, and maybe not, there's not no way, but I have a hard time imagining that you've fleshed out all of these different gameplay concepts to a point where they're satisfying in 5 years. That doesn't
Yeah,
seem.
I struggle to believe it as well, but
It takes
you
5 years
I
to
think
make
it
a good
depends.
arena shooter. You're telling me that you did that and it's just one thing I can do, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think we'll have to wait and see. It's an interesting concept. I feel like if I believed anyone could have done it, it would have been Epic Games. I feel like the pace that they are able to make content and games at is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that this is going to be successful, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't feel like we know enough information about it, and I felt like that about a lot of games. Like the next game, June Awakening, we got yet another CGI trailer for it, and we found out just from the interaction with Jeff that it's an MMO survival game.
It did say it in the end of the trailer, but it was like the logo comes up and then it's like it's an MMO survival game, and it's like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, and obviously it's an MMO survival game, so it's going to look absolutely nothing like the footage that we saw. And I hate that so much. Like, fair enough, have these glitzy CGI trailers if you want, but at least show me what the game's gonna like. Garnish in some footage of what it looks like in between.
Yeah, I particularly don't like that when it's a licensed product. I feel like when you're talking about like something like I feel like Overwatch is probably like the gold standard or like Team Fortress 2 even before Overwatch.
Or Destiny 2. Like we had the same thing with Destiny 2 Lightfall further down in the show, the new DLC from them. And that was just a CG trailer, but everyone already knows what Destiny 2
Right.
plays like and what it looks like, and they're excited for the new CGI stuff from the game. So
Well,
I kind of could forgive that one.
And what I don't like about this, and it extends to really any licensed property like this, is like I don't need a CG trailer to establish what the world of Dune is like. You know, like literally a movie,
the movie just came out. Yeah.
Right? Like we're all intimately familiar with the iconography of Dune right now. Whereas like another example of this later on is the Killer Clowns from Outer Space game. And that is like a very obscure property. So like I think that does enough to be like, okay, like you could get away with that. You could get away with just being like, this is our first tease of this idea or whatever, right? Whereas like this being like Dune Awakening, if you had shown me this and then I learned after the fact that it's like this is a third person narrative action game and that's the main character that you play as and it's a specific story, then I would be like, oh, okay, like I learned something about this today. But this is just like, this was just a hype trailer. And there's nothing wrong with hype trailers, but like it is frustrating to me when I see a trailer for like a licensed game like this and I'm like, oh shit, that seems really cool. And then it's like, no. It's like an MMO thing. It's like, okay. It's how I felt about like Skull and Bones when they announced that initially. And I was like, oh, they're going to take the pirate gameplay from Assassin's Creed and just spin it off and make a new franchise that's just like a pirate open world RPG. Like, you know, that sounds really cool. Like, I liked that a lot. And then it's like, oh no, it's like a multiplayer ship combat.
Yeah, it's basically like, their ripoff of Sea of Thieves, right?
No, but it isn't. The thing, it's not even really like that. No. Like, so it's like, and that's the thing is you can think of, oh, it's this kind of game. It's like, it's not really any of those. Like, you play as the ship, you know, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
That you didn't really present it that way, right? So, like, that's not a great feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you know, that's not a thing that's for me, right? Like I'm not familiar with Dune as a property, so I don't have like any emotional attachment to it, and I also don't really care for MMOs or survival games that much. So like, yeah, it's not one for me. You know, that's fine. But next up, we got to look at the PlayStation 5 DualSense Edge controller, which is essentially Sony's answer to, you know, the Xbox Pro controller, more or less, right? So it's going to be like a premium customizable controller. PlayStation did a whole blog post about it. So if you do want to go get like the whole breakdown, that does exist for you over there. But
and we'd heard about this a few months ago, right? From Tom Henderson. He wrote an article over at TryHard, and it basically is everything that he said. It was you can swap out the sticks, you can.
It has back buttons. It has like player profiles on it and everything.
Adjustments for the triggers, so you can make them like hair triggers. Imagine the DualSense, but it's like the Xbox Elite version. It very much feels like their take on it, and I think it's good. It caters for a market. I very much like the black buttons that they've gone for on it rather than the white face buttons on the normal DualSense. I don't really like the glossy black plastic. At least it looked like glossy black plastic in the trailer.
It looks like it is in the photos too.
Yeah, was not a fan of that, but I loved the black buttons. I thought that looked really cool.
Yeah. Do you know how much this thing costs? I didn't see a price.
No pricing's been released.
That's so whack.
No pricing and no release date, as far as I can tell.
That's whack. I don't know why you announce it.
Yeah, it's always a real shame when they do that.
I don't know why you announce a piece of hardware like this if you don't have... Like, it makes sense to announce, like, a console or something early, but, like, to be like, here's this really sick controller, and it's like... And so many people are like, dope, I want one. And they're like, oh, no, you can't order one yet. It's like, why? Like, why would you not just time the announcement around, like, here's a window,
I wonder if
right?
they got spooked by the leaks. Like maybe they got, they saw that it leaked and they wanted to talk about it. I
I
don't
don't
know,
know.
but
I
I
guess
feel
maybe.
like yeah, it's really weird because like they reference talking about God of War Ragnarok and being able to save controller profiles and like swap them on the
Right.
fly from within the controller and stuff. So maybe like the dedicated function button that's on there, they managed to like get that. Maybe they get this controller out to align with the release of God of War. I don't know because it says at the end of the article, in the months ahead, we look forward to sharing more details about the DualSense Edge wireless controller, including launch timing. So I think probably next year, or maybe it's their holiday season product. I don't know.
Yeah. It's just weird. I gotta say, like, to me, it feels like a weird choice, And I guess that could be the case, right? Like, if it is that they're not planning to release it till next year, but they wanted to comment on it now that people knew that it existed, right? And it's like, well, let's get in front of it before more information leaks, I guess. But like, it feels like a real wasted opportunity because I have a hard time imagining that they have the thing are indeed to the point where they have a final version of it that they were willing to show us and be like, this is what it is and how it works. And they don't have even a rough idea of how much it is going to cost, right? Like, why not just be like, hey,
I
like,
mean, that's the same deal with PlayStation VR 2, which we've now seen for almost a year.
I think that's different. I do. Like, I think that's a different level of investment, right? To be like, this is going to be like, there's market questions about like, our competitors are putting out other headsets soon. Do we want to try to undercut them? Like, I get them wanting to wait for the narrative on that. But for you to release this and have a big hype moment at Gamescom and everyone be like, oh, this is awesome. And all the people who want one to be like, can I pre-order it yet? And it's like, no. Like, why not just take pre-orders for it and announce the date later even, right? Like, I feel like it's such a quick pipeline to this is an announcement. Here's a link to where you can pre-order it. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get it. Bam. And, like, I feel like you wasted that moment. It feels like a weird choice to me, But people who are going to buy it will buy it anyway, right? So, what do I know?
Yeah, we don't even know what the replaceable modules are either. Like it says, replaceable stick modules will be sold separately. They've not shown what any of the other sticks look like.
No.
Weird that they're sold separately, unlike the Elite controller where you get all of them. You kind of can swap the sticks out.
I'm wondering
This one
if
you
that
kind
if
of need
that will
to take
make
them out.
I'm wondering if that will make it less expensive.
I hope so. I mean, if they can hit like the $100 price point for it, I feel like they're onto a real winner.
If they could undercut how much the Pro controller
Is 160, I think the Elite is.
Yeah, like if they could knock, like you said, like if they could hit $100 and knock $50 off that thing, and then be like, you can pick whichever accessories you want, and if you don't want any of them, great, you're great out the box. And if you do, then well, cool, that's a choice you made, right? And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel as bad to pay for one additional set rather than like 5 if you're only going to use one of them, right? Like,
Yeah, one final thing worth noting, the sticks work a little differently to the Elite controller as well, where just the top comes off and it's like a magnetic fastening. The whole stick comes out of this, so presumably solves the problem of drift because you can just replace the stick module that's drifting. And I
that's
really
cool.
hope that we get like some Hall effect sticks which use magnetic fields, so they don't have that physical contact, so they don't drift. So that would be really nice if we can get that version.
That would be nice. I might invest in one. Especially if it's that price point, because that would only be like $30 more than a regular controller.
Yeah.
That's a good price point to hit. So next up, we got another look at the Callisto Protocol. We know this one's coming December 2nd. This is the spiritual successor to Dead Space. We've seen it a couple times already.
I was really disappointed with this new footage.
That's interesting. Okay, expound on that.
I've been so excited about this game. It looks so fluid and interesting in the way that you interacted with the game in the previous outings we'd seen. And then this one, we get stuck in a room with like one spinning thing in the middle and like a bunch of monsters, and everything feels so static and rigid. Doesn't have that fluidity that I would expect. It felt like they were trying to do like a Control style thing with like a mix of like Doom 2016, and it just didn't seem like it hit quite right. Obviously, I'm not on the sticks. I don't know if it feels right. But something about it just, I don't know. It felt off.
Yo,
It
it's
didn't
so
look
funny.
appealing to me.
This is the first time I saw footage of this game where I was like, oh, I might play this actually.
Yeah.
I felt totally different because, like, to me, this segment reminded me of The Last of Us, and I was like,
yeah,
oh,
it did, and it
that's
didn't
not that
seem
scary.
it didn't seem like a scary game like they were trying to show that it was in previous games. And then you have that like section in the water, and it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, or it was like an Uncharted
from Resident Evil 2
kind of
or Uncharted,
like segment. And it's funny because that one I was like, oh, okay, like maybe this game is actually not as scary as I thought it was, and maybe I can actually play it now.
Yeah, now I'm not as massively interested as I was. So
that's funny.
I'm gonna have to await reviews on this one before I pick it up. But previously, it was like a day one. I was really hyped and excited about it in the way they showed it off before. But I know the repetitive shooting and combat in that section really kind of put me off a little bit.
Although I got the impression that wasn't how you had to tackle that.
Oh,
scene.
It definitely wasn't.
You could have just thrown them all on that thing and moved on.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, the water stuff was really interesting. Like, that really, I was like, oh, like, this has such, like, big Uncharted energy of, like, literally, he's walking and then the water, he's like, no. And then, like, you know, he's running or whatever. And then he's, like, sliding. And I was like, oh, shit, okay.
Yeah,
like,
it feels like they're going for, like, that horror movie vibe, right? That sci-fi horror movie. Where you get those like action sequences and scenes, and then you do get those atmospheric sections as well, which we saw in the previous trailers. If they can pull it off, like hand in hand,
I like that better.
It could work well
because, like, to me, like I like when there's variance in horror because, like, I feel like it makes the horror stuff hit harder. If there are moments where you're lulled into... You need that
comedy in there as well.
Yeah, like, my favorite horror movie is Alien, right? And, like, so much of that movie is just, like, dialogue and, like them, like, trying to fix the ship, and then it's like, and then it's like something scary happens, and then you're like, oh, no, like...
That's like really old school horror.
Yeah, but to me, it's like, that's attractive, you know? Like, I like horror that is...
Really atmospheric.
Yeah, and that, like, isn't so obsessed with, like, explaining things and, like, just shoving, like, the monster in your face or, like, having too much gore. Like, there's so many things where it's like, oh, look at all we can do now, and it's like...
If you don't want to see the monster, go watch Cloverfield, the original.
Yeah.
You get, like, a glimpse of 2 seconds of that thing.
But, I don't know, I kind of like that.
You should play. We should maybe play Alien Isolation then on Twitch if you like Alien.
I'd do that. I do like Alien. Anyway, so then next up we got a look at Lords of the Fallen.
Oh God.
Well, come off the bench, Steve. What's up?
What the fuck was that music? Seriously, like some weird fucking 80s, like, I don't know, it was something like we're being a Guardians of the Galaxy movie in the background of like a Lord of the Ringsy, Elden Ringy style trailer. It was fucking weird. I genuinely do not understand who made that choice and why they thought it fit in any way, shape, or form.
So I totally disagree, actually.
Oh, good God.
Because it's like 80s hair metal. And, like, all of the imagery of, I
think I'm done with that type of music, advertising absolutely everything and being absolutely everywhere.
It's not everywhere. What are you talking about?
I do not think it fit at all.
Oh, that's fine. But, I mean, like, to me, it's like, that's the aesthetic of that kind of music, right? Like, you look at, like, the, like, Dio and fucking like Black Sabbath and like a lot of those like old school like metal bands and like who am I thinking of? Oh my God, Iron Maiden, right? And there's a lot of that fantasy imagery and I mean it's like I thought I get it, it worked for me. I understand.
Yeah, again, it was a CG trailer. I don't really know much about the game. It was kind
which
of
bums me out because I was interested in it. Like I was interested in the framing of it in the beginning, and I was kind of like, okay, but like, what is this though? Like, is this a Souls-like game? Is this,
is it a Lord of the Rings game? That was the other thing, like Lords of the Fallen. Is it a Lord of the Rings game?
No, definitely not.
Because he mentioned they got rid of the 2, and I was like,
yeah, it's a sequel.
It's just the Lords of the Fallen was the original Lords of the Fallen.
Maybe it was just Lords of the Fallen, and then this is the Lords of the Fallen. Let's find out.
So it's a reboot.
It's a reboot of the 2014
game.
Souls-like.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's like a Dark Souls.
Amberwolf, if you're listening,
let
me know, because you're like the Souls Queen of the Discord server. Can you let me know if Lords of the Fallen like hit as a Souls?
Oh my god, I didn't clock this. That's really funny. Joseph Quinn, who played Eddie in Stranger Things, is the narrator in that. So that also, it's very much leaning into the hair metal thing.
They should have got Kate.
Although I guess hair metal is like maybe a bit of a misnomer because like that is more like the poppy side of stuff, like Poison and Motley Crue and that shit. And it's not like that. It's just a Danzig song, So it's like, but you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean.
I get what you mean, yeah.
Just no, I don't want to upset any metalheads. No disrespect intended. So then we got to look at moving out to. There's an online mode coming in 2023. I
think we'll probably talk a bit more about this one on Nintendo Noise this week because I think Chewy's a fan of moving out.
Cool.
And I'd be interested to hear about his take on moving out too.
Yeah, cool. I never played the first one. It definitely was a game that I was interested in, but I just never really got around to touching. So.
Yeah, I played a little bit of it. I liked it. It didn't hit as much as Good Job did for me, which is my favorite couch co-op game of this style.
All right. And then we got a look at a couple others, right? We had a few more games here. Sorry, I lost my place. So then we got another look at Hogwarts Legacy, which, we've said we're not gonna cover. I
kind of want to talk about the fact that aside from me not wanting to cover about this game because of J.K. Rowling, that I don't think it looked great anyway, and the weird caveat at the end of the Switch version to be unveiled soon does not leave me much faith that it's gonna be a good port and not just a cloud version.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I think it'll be a cloud version, frankly. I don't know. I feel like there's things about it that it bummed me out because it is like the idea of it being like a narrative choice, like make this choice or make that choice. I'm like, I love games like that. Like this is a thing I would have been excited for in a different universe. But yeah, it's like for me, that's that whole thing is. I can't come back from it, It's kind of just, it's dusted for me. So, if you want coverage on that one, you'll have to go somewhere else. But we got a look at the new Tales from the Borderlands, after that, which, is surprisingly coming out in October of this year, which feels...
This was one of those ones where I was just like, okay, that release date came out of nowhere.
Yeah, October 21st. I guess not the craziest thing when you think about what kind of game it is, right? That it is like a narrative.
It's a Telltale game.
Yeah, it's a Telltale style game.
So the original was from Telltale, right?
Yes.
From Borderlands.
Yeah. Tales of the Borderlands was a Telltale joint, and they did say that it is a bunch of the folks who worked on the original came back, the folks who worked on the narrative. So if you were a big fan of the original, this should ideally be true to that vision. And there is a new cast of characters, like a whole brand new story and everything. So it isn't a direct sequel as much as it is kind of like a spiritual sequel. So, if you didn't play the first one and, you want to check this one out, will be a fresh jumping on point for you. My understanding is that even if you're not a Borderlands person, that the original was really good. I never got around to it because I never was a Borderlands fan, and it kind of came out at that peak of when Telltale was putting out like a ton of stuff. So it was easy to be like, oh, I'll pick this one. I won't play this one. I'll play that one, whatever.
I never got into any of the Telltale games, but Borderlands would definitely not have been on my list. I do not jive with that universe at all, and I do not think the art style has lived up. I really do not like the look of this game. But that's just personal preference.
For me, I am tentatively interested in it for the reasons that I said, right? Where it's like, I don't like Borderlands, but I like Telltale games, and we haven't gotten a Telltale game in a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, you got another one coming down, which isn't really Telltale. It's Deck 9, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty hype about that though too. We all know how good they do. So it's cool. This is definitely tight. I know that there's a huge audience that absolutely adores that series. So great to see, and I'm glad to see there be avenues for this type of game that aren't from like the 4 or 5 studios that make this kind of game. So anything that gets more of these made is pretty cool in my book. So we got a look at Dying Light 2's Bloody Ties DLC, which is it looks like it's like kind of like a like an arena deathmatch type thing, right? And it's like Carnegie Hall has been turned into like the Blood Dome, basically. And yeah, I mean, I know Dying Light 2 was kind of a mixed reception when it dropped earlier this year, but I know there were a lot of folks that really did vibe with it, so I'm sure that this will be exciting for them.
Yeah.
So then we got a look at the Destiny 2 Lightfall trailer, which was the one that we kind of called out earlier. It was like another CGI joint. And, that kind of makes sense, right? Because it is Destiny, which is one of the best known franchises in the world. So, fair enough, right? Like,
it would be like complaining if Fortnite put out a CG trailer. You'd be like, okay, well, what are you going to show in terms of gameplay? Because it's Fortnite. Yeah,
right. Absolutely. So then we got a look at so now here's one I was confused. Was this a trailer or a commercial for Tortuga, the pirate game?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was an advert. That's why I left it off my list.
I'm not sure, honestly, because I've never heard of this game before. So we'll show it real quick. So this is it's like a honestly, it looks a lot like what's I think Skull and Bones is gonna look like. I thought it was a Skull and Bones trailer at first, where it's like, okay, it's a pirate adventure game. You're doing ship to ship combat. You're a captain. You customize your boat, all that good stuff. I don't know. I like that kind of experience. So maybe for me, but I guess we'll see. We'll see on that one. And then we got another look at Sonic Frontiers. And
every time I see it, my head falls in my hands, and I'm just like, why? No. Please. Just give me a good one.
No, they're not going to do that.
One good game.
They won't. But I thought that one was like I'm not going to sit here and say that Sonic Frontiers looks good, but I think this was the best showing of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got a good glimpse of what the game actually is and how it actually plays, and like look at the boss battles and look at the different zones and the different stages, and like basically it seems like all the narrative takes place on like that overworld where we've seen Sonic with those weird like robot things. and those like structures that are like they're taken out of Breath of the Wild, and then he goes into these like traditional Sonic 3D stages or like 2D style stages, and then has like boss battles where he like runs rings around the guys.
Yeah, and there were like the segments that we saw that were more like the more traditional Sonic levels, right? Where it is like there's kind of these points where you're just going through like a regular 3D or 2D, like Sonic Adventure or like Generations type level or whatever. And I thought that stuff looked okay. That looked pretty good. So it's I don't know. Like maybe this game won't be as bad as we think, but it is a Sonic game, so it's like don't set your expectations too high. I feel like every one you're like, could this be the good one? And it's like, no, it never seems to be, huh?
The next one I thought was so funny, the way Jeff introduced it. I was like, do they know that they've like gone through the ringer in the press, and Jeff doesn't want to even say their name on stage anymore, and he just introduced them as a French studio.
Yeah. The thing that's interesting about that too, though, is they're publishing it. They're not making it.
Okay.
It's a developer called Parallel Studio that's actually making the game.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
and it looks very different to like a traditional Quantic Dream game,
right? Yeah, because I don't think it is, right. Like, definitely seems to be like a story driven affair, but I did think that was interesting, interesting way to characterize it. But yeah, it's Under the Waves, and it's seemingly a narrative type experience where it seems like there's been like a post-apocalyptic event, and the oceans have risen, and parts of I guess seemingly.
So this is their ham-fisted take on us destroying the planet. This is their attempt. They took on racism, and now they're taking on climate change.
I don't like that. I'm
joking.
No, just because we'll make fun of Quantic Dream all you want, but like this is a different team. Like fuck Quantic Dream, sure. Like, or like at least what's his name? I can't think of his name. I
think it was more than just him though. Like the whole studio got sued.
Oh sure, no, I know, but like leadership often has a lot to do with like how culture is developed, right? I can't think of his name right now, but the head of the studio, who is also kind of pompous.
It's David Cage.
David Cage, thank you. I'm not gonna blame Parallel Studio for the sins of David Cage. I don't know enough about them to lay that on them, But it's like it seems as though our society has sunk in, right? And like you see these remnants of like old roads and buildings and stuff, and this guy's exploring it in this like submarine and everything, and it seems like an exploratory narrative adventure type thing, if that's your jam. And then we got an absolutely fucking insane look at Goat Simulator 3, which, if you know anything about Goat Simulator, right, like, that it's wacky, right? It's very, like, over-the-top nut job kind of game. And the fact that there isn't a game, Goat Simulator 2, and they're just calling this Goat Simulator 3, like, they're in on the meme. And, like, this trailer just kept introducing things, and it was like there's like, oh, like there's jetpacks now, there's all these skins, you can play as a rhino, you can play as a shark, and swim in concrete, and like it just feels like so like they're like driving cars now, they're causing explosions, like there's all this, there's like a thing where he's like making a guy's head giant and he blows up a dam, and it's just wacky. It's truly wacky, over the top nonsense, and it seems like a fun time.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna be a great one to fuck around with on stream. Might just land at a really bad time for us if we're deep into Pokemon land at that point. But November 17th is when this one drops.
There's too many games coming out.
Yeah.
It looks fun though. I'll say that. I never got around to checking out the first one, but this is one I could see making the time for, just for, like you said, for like streaming at least. Seems like there's just a lot of wacky stuff you can do. So then we've got the probably, I would guess, our last look at Return to Monkey Island.
It's our last look,
right?
Yeah, I don't want to see any more of this game. I'm sold on it. Like, it's out next month. We found out that it's coming out on September 19th, the International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And they had such a funny trailer to go with it. I thought it was so charming. And their like marketing guy that was on screen, and he did this like wavy hand thing, like, you know, he's like trying to sell you on the stuff. It was hilarious. But I was like laughing out loud, like I was watching it with some friends, and they had no idea what the joke about the free horse armor was if you pre-order it, and it's like this piece of armor that like goes into your inventory, and you can do nothing with it. It has no purpose whatsoever in the game. It's just aesthetics, and I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, totally incredible. I thought this was a really solid trailer, and yeah, it's great to see. You know, I think there's definitely a lot of really, you know, really die hard Monkey Island fans out there, and I'm super stoked that y'all are getting another installment here. So yeah, one to look forward to for sure. Really soon, right around the corner. So then next up, we got a look at I believe it's Moonbreaker, right?
Yeah, Moonbreaker. Yeah, this was such an interesting game for me. I was so excited about this, from the studio behind Subnautica Unknown Worlds. Real departure for them from their previous games, working with the author Brandon Sanderson, who's fleshed out this like sci-fi universe for them, and it's this like tabletop like RPG strategy game. The director there described it as Hearthstone meets XCOM, and you get these like actual miniature figures, and there's like a whole section where you can go in and you can like paint them and
it's
like
Warhammer.
Design them up.
Like, it's literally like Warhammer 40K. Like,
it's yeah, it is. It is like one of those miniature,
but just
like, statue games. Yeah,
and I think it's funny because like the Hearthstone comparison makes sense, but I feel like it's more like Hearthstone in the way that Hearthstone was like, what if Magic the Gathering was a video game? And like, this is like, well, what if Warhammer 40K was a video game? And you'd have to spend $300 to buy a set, right? Like, you can just play this online, and there's ideally going to be an active community, and, you know, you can paint everything in game, and you have to worry about buying a figure and then fucking up the paint and, like, you know, all that, right? Like,
yeah. I'm so excited for this. I think
this
it's
is
such a
sick.
cool concept.
I really like
cool.
this. Yeah, I'm with you.
And like when he described it as it had like a Guardians of the Galaxy or Firefly feel, I was like sold on it. And then like he was just like, every unit in the game is special and game breaking, and I'm so curious as to what that means in terms of actual gameplay. Like, there's obviously a lot of strategy that goes into every single piece, and building out your team that you're going to go into these battles with, and figuring out what works for you, and what works for you might not work against who you're up against. And you know, it's really going to be luck of the draw as to, is what you've picked going to work. But it's coming out September 29th, early access on Steam. I'm really excited to check this one out. I think I'm probably going to pick it up if I'm not too busy with Monkey Island and Splatoon at that point. This is just the problem, is picking and choosing which game.
It'll be there though, right? It's in early access, so like it'll have, if you don't get to it at early access point, it'll hit, oh, now it's like in beta, right? And you're like, ah, cool, I'll jump in then, right? Like, you'll have lots of opportunities to get into this game. But I'm way into that. That is so my jam. I've always wanted to get into Warhammer, but money. So I love the idea of taking like the fun of that board game formula and finding a way to make a unique, you know, video game take on it. So then next up, we got a look at Friends versus Friends, which is a like card-based kind of like cartoon shooter from the look of it.
Yeah. Look, it had like vibes of that other one that we saw, Neon White.
Yes.
That recently came out, that kind of took everyone was into it, and then it sort of went away. I don't know what what difference it is. I loved the trailer for it, though.
That's a lot
really cool.
different in terms of just the kind of game it is, but like the core like card based thing I think is that's like an apt comparison, but that's like it's like a score chase like level complete type game, and this is a multiplayer shooter.
Okay, makes sense then.
Yeah, it looks cool. It has a really good style, very like cartoony, and like I like that some of them are just like wacky. Like some of them are like turn yourself into a giant, like make your enemy's head get huge so that it's easier to get a headshot off, and like things like that.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was so cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, like that's a really, really novel idea.
The thing is, these like live and die by getting a player base. You know, we had that same thing with that one that came to Switch, where you would like shoot and like certain parts of the body would get bigger. Do you remember that one? And like you would end up like as a giant, and just the player base just never got there.
And it's like, is it going to be free? If it's not, is it cross-platform, cross-play, like all that good stuff? Like, you know, like all of those things are things that definitely like limit its reach quite a bit. So, you know, it's like, I like the idea. I hope it comes together. Like it seems like a fun concept, but I think you're right that like it's a game you could easily see fall by the wayside if it doesn't, you know, spark the way that it needs to. So then we got a look at Lies of P, which is allegedly coming in 2023. We'll see on that one.
I think it will. Like we actually saw some gameplay.
We saw quite a bit of gameplay.
Well as like CG. So I feel like this one could come in 2023.
For sure.
And Game Pass day one, which I think is such a coup for Xbox to have a Soulsborne game come to Game Pass. It'd be the first one that lands for them. And I loved the look of this game. I was so excited. It's like a new Souls convert with Elden Ring this year. I'm actually really excited about getting into something that's a little bit of a different story, a little bit of different kind of genre and different play style.
Yeah, and it
seemed to have some like guns and things in there.
Very interesting framing device in that it is so it's a reinterpretation of Pinocchio.
Yeah, you play as Pinocchio, right?
And like they showed Geppetto and everything, and he's like this weird old like steampunk inventor, and he's like, finally we meet, my son. And it's just like, this is such a weird energy, but like could be fun. Yeah. You know, it could be good. Probably not for me, right? But definitely it looked like a very competent game. You know, like the gameplay looked sharp. It looked like it looked like it had a good feel to it. So hopefully for all you Souls nuts out there, it's a good one, right? And it's one that's worth checking out.
Yeah, I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I was into it. Totally wacky stuff, but I like totally wacky stuff, so that's cool for me. So then we gotta look at what is it? Atlas Fallen is the name of this.
Yeah, one. the new game from Deck 13 that started with the line, "The sand has memories," and I was like, okay.
It's coarse and it gets everywhere.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't know about this. Had like a very forspoken feel to it, from at least what I interpreted. I'm not sure on it. It's probably not going to be one for me. And again, another CG trailer coming in 2023.
See, I don't get the forspoken thing. For me, I feel like this looks like a survival game. Because it's like because like the narrative of it, right, is like, you're right, it's a CGI trailer game, but like the narrative of it is like it's this guy and he's in a like a spaceship that's crashing.
I get that. I mean, aesthetically, I think it looks very much like Forspoken.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry.
You're in.
I'm talking about a different game. I'm so sorry. That's Stranded, Aliens Dawn.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one's coming out in early access in October.
Apologies. Right. Yeah. So that's the problem. I'm talking about, I got my wires crossed on that one. I super apologize for that. Yeah. So that's the one that I think feels like it's like a survival game,
Oh yeah,
right?
that
Where it's
one
like
definitely is a survival game. Yeah.
pod crashes, and it's like a bunch of people on an alien planet, and they're building a settlement and everything, and it looks like it's like a survival like base builder, right?
Yeah, it's from Frontier, so at least it's published by Frontier, who are known for games like City Skylines and that Colonize Mars game. So it kind of feels like it's
And
again another progression on that, where you go to a planet and you're basically setting up camp.
And I like that kind of game quite a bit. Like I like settlement survival type building things like that when it's not like a first person Minecrafty go collect resources thing, when it's more like base management, kind of like Cult of the Lamb, but like with a combat element of like defend the walls, and it's like tower defensey as well. Kind of like I like that kind of thing. So that's interesting to me. And it's coming to early access in October, so I guess we'll see on that one. Now that we're like Steam Deck boys, I'm like, if it's coming to early access on Steam, maybe maybe I'll check it out, right? Like who's
Yeah. My worry is that it's terrible on early access, and like performance on a 3080 is terrible, and then it barely runs on a Steam Deck.
Could be.
Okay,
So
now the sand has memories, and
yes.
definitely feels like Forspoken, because the main pro tag seemed like a similar start in style. The like world felt like a similar world. The clothing they were wearing very much felt like a Forspoken style game to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I again, I didn't quite get that vibe, but like I guess I can see what you mean, right? But like it's just another one of those kind of like fantasy trailers where I'm just kind of like, okay, but like, because like there's this
what the
big,
fuck is it? Yeah, like how do I play this fucking game?
and it's like
what is it?
The way it's shot, it feels like it implies that it's an open world game, right? Because there's like a big like panoramic, like look at the world, and then there's
it
like
looks like, oh, you've got to get to that thing in the distance, the big floaty thing in
right.
space. But it's like, do you have to get there?
And then there's like the whole segment with the fight with the people and the and the, but then like that like I kind of get the impression that it is either going to be like just like a straight up like open world type thing, or that it's going to be like a Souls like. That's kind of the vibe I feel like I'm getting, but it also feels like it implies some kind of multiplayer element, right? Because like the whole thing is about these two folks meeting up and fighting a monster together and everything, and so I don't know. It's interesting. It's I'm not totally sure what to make of it, but I also do feel like I have some idea, kind of, but it could also just be me extrapolating from like what I've seen in trailers in the past and being like, oh, okay, it seems like this kind of game, right? But it's good to get that confirmation. It's like, this is interesting, I guess, but I don't really know what it is, so it's hard to like put it on the like, oh, I'm looking forward to this just because it had like a
and it's not like it's a known franchise and license, right?
Right,
Where
like we
if
said.
you had like a CG trailer and it was like a Final Fantasy, you'd be like, oh yeah, great.
And it's like they do show some gameplay, right? Like there is like this section near the end where it's like the fighting the some of the bosses, and then they're like like speeding along on the sand and everything, and like I don't know, but like
oh yeah, like the Sonic run on the sand.
But it's like, what is like I don't know, like is it? I just feel like I don't know what kind of action game it is, right? Like is it more like Platinum-y where it's like a hack and slash? Is it more like a Souls like? Is it more just like kind of like a third person action game? I don't know. Like I feel like I would love to have a little bit more clarity, rather than just like have a bunch of kind of like ideas swirling around and then like some flashes of gameplay where it's like, okay, I see some action, but what is that? What am I doing moment to moment? That's a big question for me. So then we got to look at Homeworld 3, which is a space-based RTS. And based on the way Jeff talked about it, it seemed like it was kind of like an old school legacy RTS franchise. So that's a little over my head in terms of like, I don't know, like is there like a diehard audience where this is like a Monkey Island type thing for that community? Yeah. I'm not totally sure, but I like RTS as a genre, and I feel like it's one of the few genres that like I don't feel like has had like a huge resurgence in recent years, where it's like, what's like the modern?
I don't know about that. Like all of the like Relic games.
That's true. Yeah, and I'm not to say that there aren't good ones coming out, but like I don't feel like there's been like a big mainstream acceptance of it in the way that I feel like a lot of other kind of like quote unquote, dead genres that had like a real golden age have kind of come back in a big way, and like lots of really good quality RTS games come out for sure, but like don't feel like they've necessarily hit that broader mass market appeal again in the way that like StarCraft was like one of the biggest games in the world when it came out, right? Like, and it certainly isn't that anymore.
I feel like maybe people outgrew the genre, which is fine. But it's still one of my favorites. I still love Age of Empires. Still go back to that all the time. And this is a Relic game. Homeworld.
Nice.
They're really the only company making these great games anymore. They make Age of Empires now as well. So, they're the only ones in the RTS club these days.
Well, I appreciate that they're out there carrying the torch. So then we got to look at some new content coming to Genshin Impact, as well as a look at a new game from them.
Yeah, not the first time we've seen Honkai Star Rail from Hoyoverse, but like, yeah, they've changed their name like that. I had to ask Greg because he's like a massive Genshin fan.
Okay.
They changed their name to Hoyoverse from Miho or something.
Okay.
Outside of China only. In China, they're still called like Miho. Outside of China, they're Hoyoverse now.
Interesting.
The note, because I copied and pasted them into our document, was because I was writing it as I was watching. It was, I can't remember the name, but I give approximately 0 shits. But looks like the Persona 5 protagonist. And that was my take on that Honkai Star Rail, which is the train in space game. Because I know it's going to be a gacha game, and I don't have time for those.
Yeah, I just Genshin is not something that like ever really tickled my fancy, right? So it's like I think I'm kind of unfairly like dismissing this game because I'm like, oh, I don't like Genshin, so I'm like, am I gonna like this? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you
probably
definitely should check it out if you I don't know, because like I don't feel like we know enough about what it is from the trailer that they showed. I'm sure there's a lot more information out there if we wanted to go look for it. But yeah, like the style for me very much felt like it was a Persona 5 protagonist or maybe a character from Fire Emblem.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely didn't like, as somebody who has a negative perception of Genshin and like doesn't, I'm not like looking to go check out Hoyoverse's next game. I don't feel like this did a particularly good job of selling me on like what it is, but I'm sure we'll see it a lot more times between now and when it actually gets out. So, there's always time for them, I guess, to change my mind. We'll see. So then we got a pretty long gameplay clip from High on Life, which is the new game from Justin Roiland, who you probably know best as the co-creator of Rick and Morty. He's got his studio, Squanch Tendo, that did that VR game that I cannot remember the name of right now, but was very warmly received, if memory serves. And this is kind of their next at bat, and it's like a more traditional first-person shooter, but like with their like zany, art style and comedy and everything. It's a game we saw a while ago, and like the rough premise is that like it's like there's this race of aliens that are all guns, and like you have a bunch of different.
And they all talk.
Yeah, and you have a bunch of sentient weapons that talk to you while you're fighting and stuff, and
not even just to you. Apparently, according to this game clip, they
were like talking shit to the boss.
Well.
They're like showing a boss fight, and like they're both like slagging off the boss, which is funny. But yeah, I didn't like this showing because it was just too long. But I am interested in this game. Like when they showed it off initially, it it seems like fun and like not a novel concept, and like I was interested by the concept of like like a Justin Roiland style video game when I think it's Trevor Saves the World. Is that what it's called? I think that's right. But it was in VR, and like I'm not a VR guy, so I just never tried it. So this was like
Trover Saves the Universe.
That was close. Trevor Saves the World is like the like bargain bin knockoff.
Yeah, we've got Trover Saves the Universe at home.
It's Tarantula Man. So yeah, I don't think this was a great way to show off this game, but it didn't diminish my enthusiasm for it as much as I was just kind of like, I don't need to watch an entire boss fight. Like, I get it, right? I get what the gameplay is of this game now. Kind of good,
Yeah, see, I don't like the look. I did not like the look of this game. It's not really my style of comedy, so I don't think. I think you have to be into Justin's style of comedy. You have to like Rick and Morty, that kind of thing, to really appreciate this game. And I don't think I do, but it's just fine.
Alrighty, and that one is we don't have a date on that one. Never mind. I was gonna say I thought we got a tease for that one, but we did not.
Yeah, it's The High on Life. It's coming December 13th.
Oh, it is? Okay. Did we already have that one?
At least, yeah, we already had that date. It's coming to Game Pass. It got the date on at the Xbox showcase.
Got it. Yeah, and the fact that it is coming to Game Pass day and date, I'm excited about that. I can just I can give it a shot, see if it's for me. So then we got another look at Telltale's The Expanse. Now, this is something I don't remember them saying before, but Deck 9 is working on it.
Deck 9's making the game by the sounds of it from the interview. It's not really Telltale's, is it? It's more Deck 9's The Expanse.
I guess. It's weird. Like, it's like, are they working on it in collaboration? Is it...
I think Telltale's publishing Deck 9's game, from what I could tell.
Which is interesting. For some reason, I thought Deck 9 was owned by Square, but I guess they're not. I guess they're just the gun for hire on Life is Strange right now. Which makes sense, right? Like that's
unless they got sold off, because didn't Square sell a bunch of those off?
Well, that was the thing I remember thinking at the time. I was like, "Oh, what's that mean for like Life is Strange?"
No, yeah, they're not bought. Their company's actually called Idle Minds LLC, and they just trade as Deck 9, which is very weird as well.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, they're developing it, published by the new Telltale Games.
Yeah,
which is actually LCG Entertainment.
Right, it's like the reborn Telltale Games.
Yeah, they're like bought up all of the assets and the IP and are now publishing those games again. Right,
and like there are folks from the original studio that came back and everything, but so either way, however you slice it, this is, I think, a game that definitely interests me. I've not watched The Expanse, which is the Amazon Prime series that this is based on, but like I said earlier, I love this style of game. Big fan of Deck 9. So to me, I've heard The Expanse is really good. So, I mean, I'm kind of in a position where I'm like, well, maybe I'll play this, and if I like it, maybe I'll check out the show. Like, it's a prequel, so I could play it seemingly without spoiling it for myself, which is cool. But I don't know. I'm interested.
Did Deck 9 do Tell Me Why? Or was that another developer?
No, that's Don't Nod. So
that was a good game.
Don't Nod is the original creator of Life is Strange. They did Life is Strange 2, as well as a number of other games. And then Deck 9 was the studio that came in to make the Life is Strange prequel, Before the Storm, which is all about Chloe, who's the supporting character in Life is Strange. And that game was so good and actually really well received, even though everyone was like, oh no, like Don't Nod's not making it. Like Ashley Birch didn't come back and do the voice because that was during the SAG-AFTRA strike. So like a whole bunch of things against it where everyone was like, oh no, like there's no way this will be good. And they nailed it. It was so good. And then they are the studio that took over with True Colors. So they're the only studio that's worked on Life is Strange that aren't the creators of Life is Strange. So they've, in my book, they've got this gold stamp of approval. They know how to make a good narrative adventure game. So I'm in, like for me, like, despite the fact that I don't have any attachment to the IP, I have an attachment to that studio and I know what they're capable of. So I guarantee that they can make me care about it, even if I'm not a fan. So part of me wants to go watch the show before this comes out and just like see what's up,
You might as well see if you like that universe, and even if you don't, you might like making choices within it.
Yep, for sure. Coming out next summer, apparently, and it looks like it's pretty far along. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. So then we talked a little bit about this one earlier. We got a look at Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game, which you can sign up for the beta right now. Apparently, it's coming out in early 2023. While this was a CGI trailer, I think it's actually extremely clear what kind of game this is. They pointed out that this is from the director behind Friday the 13th. So if you're not familiar, Friday the 13th, the game was a online, what's the Dead by Daylight, right? Like it's like that style game.
You play on teams. You play on teams. You're either Freddy or you're trying to run away from Freddy. Jason, that's it. And then in this game, you're either the killer clowns or you're running away from the killer clowns.
Right. And they showed a little bit of the gameplay. It's the exact same kind of thing, right? Like they show the clowns running around with the guns trying to catch everybody, and you're like, you and the townsfolk are going to try to fight back and survive and escape, Sick, right? Like Friday the 13th, I know had a really dedicated community, even though it was a game that had its problems. And then the license kind of got taken away from them, and then that was why the game died, unfortunately. So them getting another at bat with an IP that nobody gives a fuck about.
Is anyone taking this license off them? I'm sure they're happy to have the pennies that they're getting off of the game sales.
And that's the thing is this is an iconic film. It's one of the most notoriously good bad horror movies. So perfect formula, right? You can make a ton of, for the folks that fuck with that and love it and know it, they'll show up and be excited for it. And for the folks that have no context for it, it's well, it's right in the name, buddy. You got it. So seems like a match made in heaven. I think this has a lot of opportunity to be something that's really fun, for the folks that like that kind of game, like the asynchronous competitive multiplayer thing. Not quite my jam, but I do have some warmness for this film. So
I've never seen it, but I really want to watch it.
It's fucking awful, dude. It's so bad. I haven't watched it in a really long time, but it's a fun, dumb movie, or at least that's my recollection of it, right? So then we got to look at Scars Above, which is third-person sci-fi story-driven kind of thing. There's this big
monolith.
Monolith kind of it's this big alien spaceship thing in the sky just appears, and it seems as though Earth sends a team to go investigate it, and then this woman who you play as ends up in this kind of spooky, it's sci-fi meets horror, because it looks like you're on a planet and there's all these weird monsters, and it seems like
you ever watched the movie Arrival?
No.
Okay, well, Amy Adams plays this scientist lady who goes after this alien thing lands down on space, and she goes and communicates with it, and she has to figure out how to talk to this alien.
Very much seems like that then, huh?
It's basically that story in a game form by the sounds of it.
It seems like it, yeah. Cool enough, sure. I don't know, right? I'm sci-fi, horror like that is kind of hit or miss for me, so I don't know. Maybe, but didn't grab me, that one,
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I don't know, we already got the Callisto Protocol. at home. Do we need this?
Callisto Protocol, and we've got Dead Space coming in January.
It's true. So the next one was like a real nothing burger of a trailer, but I am going to say I'm cautiously interested. So the next one was Word Song, which is an RPG that's from people who worked at Bethesda and Obsidian and BioWare and basically every great Western RPG studio. They had a credit that they were like, hey, we're the folks that brought you these. Now we're a brand new studio and we're working on something new. They're called Something Wicked. They gave like a very, very brief tease of like, this is a fantasy universe that we're working on. That's about all we got, you know? I am certainly interested based on the pedigree, right? We know that I love the Dragon Ages and the Elder Scrolls and, you know, whatnots. All those games are beloved to me. So, you know, the idea of them getting to work on a new IP and, you know, getting to have a studio that they own and have the stake in, like, it's great. But there is always that question when this kind of studio gets announced where it's like, we have a brand new studio and it's all these veterans from all these amazing teams. And it's like, they've never made a game together, though. So...
No, but then look what happened with Multiverses, and they made something amazing.
Right.
So they could make something incredible.
Exactly. But there are also other stories of like, oh, look at all these people came together, and then it's like, oh, okay, it didn't come together the way you thought it would. I'm not trying to put that on them, right? Like I'm here for it, but I'm tempering my excitement because we don't even know what this is. So like, give me some more. I'm here for it. I'm paying attention to it now, but I hope it falls on that side of the fence where it's like, damn, okay, right. Like all these folks got together and now they can make this game and they're unimpeded by, you know, studio mandate and whatnot, right? And like we've seen how that plays out in the past in great ways.
Yeah, it seems like it's very new on the ground. They're hiring for a bunch of positions, but I love the fact that they're like a fully remote team. And they're seemingly like very staff focused. They've got like core hours, so you only have to work from like 12 till 5, and then you can work whatever time suits you and your schedule. There's a lot of cool stuff that they're implementing to make it a nice place to work, and hopefully they can make a great game alongside that as well.
That all sounds beautiful to me. So, yeah, Something Wicked Games. I'm paying attention to what they do next. So then we got to look at a free expansion coming for Age of Empires 4 to celebrate 25 years of the franchise. We're getting 2 new playable factions. It's the Ottomans and what was the other one?
Oh,
I threw it to you and you're just dropping it, Steve. You're just dropping it. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Pick it up. Pick it up. Okay. Unbelievable. He's just like, I got nothing for you. You've thrown to me and I have nothing for you. You know, I'm trying to find the other
Malayans,
I think is the
Malayans.
There you go. We got 2 new factions coming to Age of Empires 4.
Yeah, and they're not like new to the franchise. Both of them have been in the series.
New to the game, returning.
But new to Age of Empires 4, which is nice to see. You know,
cool that it's a free update
celebrate.
Too.
Yeah, I mean they do this all the time. This is not the first free update they've added. They keep adding them, which is great news for fans of the game. It would be really nice to celebrate 25 years with a console port, and I hope that is planned at some point because I feel like tons of people could experience this game on console. Age of Empires has been on console before and it worked just fine, and I feel like you did such a good job with Halo Wars.
That game was built from the ground up to be on console, though, and I think that's the difference.
That is the difference, but, you know, other Relic games are also on console, and I feel like that they could adapt the controls and make adjustments to make it work on console.
Fair enough. So next up, we got to look at Gotham Knights, which got an updated release date, which is wild. How rarely that happens, right? The game's coming out on October 21st now instead of in November, which is cool. I I don't know. I'm so cautiously optimistic about this game. Like, I want it to be good. Obviously I'm a comic book guy. Love Batman, and the Bat family, I should say. But I don't know. The whole like multiplayer. It's like you don't have to play a multiplayer, but it is multiplayer. I'm just like, that makes me so nervous. I really feel like this game feels like it's gonna come out and be like a 7, and I really want it to be good. But for some reason, it gives me pause. What we've learned about it, and like we've seen a lot of CGI stuff, and I'm interested.
I felt like that trailer went on forever.
It was pretty long, yeah, and it's like I don't know. I'm certainly not out on it, but it definitely is like, I think, a wait and seeer for me, and especially it doesn't help the fact that now it's coming out the day before I get married, so not playing it that weekend. So if it comes out and it has like a lukewarm reaction, it's one I could see me maybe skipping or maybe like trying to get to later, but which is awful because like I love the first 2 Arkham games, and I feel like it's been so long since we got anything from that franchise, and I didn't like the last one, so it's been even longer than that for me.
Yeah,
but cautiously optimistic. I really, really want this. I want this to be on my Game of the Year list, and I just don't know that it's going to hit that bar.
It's definitely not going to be. No, I don't think so.
I just don't think it's going to hit that bar.
From what's on your list so far, like we spoke about yesterday, I can't see that this makes it on there.
I think you're probably right, and that is a bummer to me because I want it. I want it to hit that bar, but we shall see. So then next up, we got to look at Where Winds Meet, which is a new adventure game. We got another look at some CGI gameplay combo deal.
Was your Ghost of Tsushima like senses tingling a little bit, or like Sekiro style senses tingling? That's what I got from it.
A little bit. Like it did at first, and then there was like some really like cartoony like superhero shit where you're like running up a wall and stuff, and I was like, I kind of want it to be a little.
She walked on water like Jesus at one point to like get to the ship, and I was like, okay.
Which I like when that happened, I was like, oh man, okay. Like I kind of want it to be more just like Ghost of Tsushima, but like also I'm like, well, we already have Ghost of Tsushima, right? Like let this be its own thing. I'm not gonna be annoyed that it's not a game I already like, right? Like I had never had a major context for like samurai fiction before, right? Like I've never like done the Kurosawa stuff. Like samurai has never, it's not a thing I've explored a lot. So like the idea of another game kind of coming in and establishing like, hey, like we're like, the Saints Row to their Grand Theft Auto. I'm like, I fuck with that. I could definitely see myself getting into that.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool. But yeah, I need to see more. I can't just be a CGI trailer that sells me on it with minimal gameplay.
I wouldn't say it's minimal gameplay.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. This one was actually quite expansive.
They show like multiple fights with bosses. Yeah. They show that you running across the water and blowing up a pirate ship, and I think we have an idea of what this is. Looks fun. It looks fun. This one's on the radar. This one's on the radar for sure. Glad it's not coming out soon because there's too many games. Happy to have it on the horizon.
Still got some coming out very soon. They're still up on the list.
Way too many. But yeah, there's also like some weird ass like Kingdom Hearts ass imagery or like Death Stranding ass imagery where there's like these like swords fly. I have no idea what the like mythology is here, but like the vibes are correct for me on this one for sure. So then next up we got the announcement of Kojima's podcast, which is coming out.
Absolutely bizarre.
It's coming out on September 8th, and is Spotify exclusive. And they said that it's going to be simulcast in English and Japanese. So there'll be like, I would imagine the way that you've always heard Kojima, right, as a non-Japanese speaker, where the person who's his translator will probably translate what he's saying, and that'll be the English version. And he was like he said specifically that like this is intended for a global audience, and it's going to be like talking about creating, and like there'll be special guests, and
Jeff's going to be on one, right? I think he said Jeff was coming on.
He said Jeff was going to have a regular segment, actually.
Hey.
So, it said Jeff's entertainment industry news section will also become a regular feature.
Oh, okay.
So not sure what that means.
He really is good friends with Jeff, isn't he?
Yeah, they're buddies. And they said that there would be special guests from various fields, so not necessarily limited to.
No, he's going to have a bunch of movie
games.
people on because he is like obsessed with movies, and I love that about him. I think it's so fascinating.
He's probably just going to be like, who's some cool people that I've always wanted to talk to, like. Yeah. Yeah. So it wouldn't be a Jeff Keighley presentation without Hideo Kojima showing up to just say hi, right? So
yeah, right.
That's cool. Good for him. So then we got a look at Park Beyond, which seems like it's a roller coaster tycoon spiritual successor type game, but we already have a Planet Coaster, right? So
not the first time that we've seen it either. Yeah, we've got a Planet Coaster. I feel like this did show that it went a little bit further than some of the stuff Planet Coaster can offer. Had a little bit more variety in there. I don't know. I like this style game, but I agree with you. I feel like Planet Coaster is like the gold standard, but then I feel like a Frontier is the gold standard of making those style games.
Hey, competition breeds excellence, right? So if they want to come out and offer an alternative that is hopefully better and one-ups what they were doing in some way, then that's a good thing. So we got Jeff's commercial for the Mini Aceman concept car, which is a gamer car with Pokemon integration from Mini Cooper.
It's not even a gamer car. They showed this because I love cars as well. They showed this off weeks ago. It's their new electric crossover to replace the Mini Paceman is the goal with the Aceman. And to get it in a Gamescom, I guess they were just like, yeah, how can we do this? We'll do a crossover with Pokemon, and we'll have it project Pikachu up on the wall, and like that'll do the job, and we can sell. And
Pikachu's he's on the dash. Come on, buddy. The whole thing has electric sparks. This is crazy.
Well, the whole of the dash has like a projector built in, so it can project whatever they want on it. So they can put like anything on there, which I guess they could like change it to any Pokemon that they wanted as well. I'd be interested to go see this if I was at the show. I'd want to go see the car because I like electric cars. But weird in a presentation all about video games to have an electric car.
And this probably paid for the whole fucking thing. So
probably, yeah.
like
thanks for the money, BMW.
Yeah, it's like business is business, my guy. So whatever. Has to happen, right? So last couple things to touch on here. We got another look at the Outlast trials, which has a closed beta that is imminent. It's October 28th to November 1st. I don't know. What do you think about this one?
I like horror games. I played a bit of Outlast before. I've watched people play Outlast. I think it was a pretty scary game. It's nice to see them really showing off the follow-up now with the Outlast trials. Closed beta, I don't think anyone's really getting in on that anytime soon, so we won't see anything more. And even if they do get on it, you're not going to be able to actually see any footage from there. Because no one's allowed to share anything. It's NDA'd up to the eyeballs. So expect this next year, is what I would say.
We got a couple other like little quick looks at a couple other games. Some of which I thought did look pretty interesting, but they were like we got like Dorf Romantic, which was like that puzzle game.
Yeah, I want to talk to Chewie about that one as well Nintendo noise, because I know he's very excited about that one coming to Switch.
To Switch, because it was apparently pretty successful on Steam when it originally dropped. So it was like a couple looks at games that have been on other platforms and stuff like that. So we won't spend time talking about them here. But some games that looked pretty good. So then we got to look at two more. The first was the finals, which is being worked on by Embark. Again, I don't know. Like, what did you think about this one?
I feel like I learned nothing from it other than there's a playtest on Steam soon. So I guess if you want to try out and find out what it is, then yeah, there's a playtest coming up.
Yeah, definitely didn't super stick out to me either. Like, it was just like another kind of like, just like a basic CGI thing, and like, yeah, like there's it's just some, I don't know. Okay, I guess, right. And then I think arguably a pretty big thing to close out was a big look at Dead Island 2, which is apparently
confirmation that the game exists, right? Because we've not heard anything about this game for years.
Yeah, it's been in development for I don't even know how long. The first one came out when I was in college. It was like 2013 or 14, I think. So yeah, the fact that this is confirmed that it still exists. It's out on February 3rd. It got a hard release date. It's set in Los Angeles. It's the most we've seen of this game in ages, it feels like. So I thought this was an interesting way to close it out, because it's definitely the original was a big deal at the time. Don't know how it's going to hold up today, because obviously the landscape is a lot different. That was kind of like at the peak of like interest in zombie stuff again. And now that wave has kind of waned. So it's we'll see. Yeah, I guess
I don't know. I feel like people are still really excited for these games because yes, I think zombie stuff maybe has like waned a little bit. But I feel like that is on the scary, stealthy, like that kind of zombie, rather than the hammy, comedic, like haha, this isn't scary, this is just fun, like hack and slash through kind of zombie, which I think is more what Dead Island goes for.
Sure, yeah, that's fair to say. We'll see about this one. It's interesting because it's been in development for so long. So it's one of those things where it's like, has it been in development for so long because that was really tortured, troubled development? Has that been time well spent? Is it a game that feels old now? Because I don't know.
How many generations do you think this has gone through before it got here?
You don't know, right? Like, was it started and restarted, or has this been a continual? Like, it's hard to say, right? But it's finally going to hit the finish line, and I think there's certainly a reason to be excited for it, right? Like we know that the original was a hit, so for fans of that, I'm sure there's going to be some level of hype for this to finally come across the finish line. Whether or not it sticks the landing, I guess remains to be seen. But I'm I could be persuaded.
Yeah. And coming out so soon. Like, I was really shocked with that February 3rd release date, like a solid release date, not just like a window, like early 2023, like an actual day when they're saying this game is landing, which I think is cool. So other like weird tidbits, like LA as an island, I guess this is like post-apocalyptic, and we've like the rest of the USA is sunk or something, or like it's branched off of the United States. And Alexa game control. Did you see that in the end card?
I did, yeah.
And like the weird tidbits that's come out since then that it's going to tie in with Amazon's Alexa, and you can tell it to like change your weapon.
The zombies, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, weird stuff.
Yeah, I wish that they had shown a little more gameplay. But aside from that, it's definitely a big.
We'll get more.
It's definitely a big piece of news. It was a good way to close things out, right? Like, oh my God, Dead Island came out in 2011, Steve.
So that's a 360 game.
Yeah, it was. Jesus. Yeah, this was announced in 2014. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm refreshing my memory here. So it has changed hands multiple times. It was originally getting made by Jaeger Development, and they worked on it in 2012. They got kicked off the project in 2015 and got replaced by Sumo Digital. And then they got removed and got replaced with Dambuster, who's an internal studio from Deep Silver, who've been working on this version since 2019. So this game's been canceled and restarted twice.
Oh, dear.
Wild.
Okay. I mean, well, we'll see. We'll see. See how it goes. Coming to last gen consoles as well. There was quite a lot that I was surprised that were coming to last gen consoles as well. Like that Scars Above game had PS4 in the end card as well, and I was like, a 2023 game that's still targeting PS4. Bit weird, but we'll see. Dead Island 2, I think a lot of people are excited about it. It looks goofy. It looks fun. It looks like they nailed the theme and like the feel of Dead Island.
Yeah.
So if they can pull off the gameplay, they can pull off the environments and the story, then I feel like they're onto a winner. And I'm sure we'll see a lot more on this one at the Game Awards in December.
Probably, yeah. It's very interesting because, like, it's going to be interesting to see if this game comes out and hits because, like, I think I'd almost feel bad for Techland considering that Dying Light 2 just came out and was kind of, like, lukewarm, right? And, like, this was their game and then they broke off to go do Dying Light because they didn't have ownership over Dead Island. It was, like, a very, like, messy whole situation. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll be interesting to see, like, how it comes out and if it ends up, hitting, after all this time. But, it's finally hitting the finish line. They put the time into restarting it twice. So you got to imagine that they think it's pretty good if they're actually going to finally put it out. So,
or it's like, we need some money back. Can we please just get something?
Yeah.
It could be one of those situations.
Some return on our investment here. But anyway, that's all the announcements from Gamescom Opening Night Live. I think overall, good show. I think there were definitely weak points. There was some stuff that went on for too long, but it was a very like announcement games oriented presentation. And that's even if some of those things are like kind of nothing hype trailers, like I'd rather that than the watching The Rock work out and tell me about his energy drink or whatever, right? So like. Felt like an improvement, God, yeah. I think, over what we saw at Summer Games Fest kickoff. So, not the best presentation, but I thought a solid one overall. And lots of games to look forward to and looks at games that we were already looking forward to. So, definitely not a bad one either. I'd say I'd give it like a solid like B plus maybe if I'm feeling generous.
I think so. Wasn't any like slam dunk in there for me. Some unexpected games, like, and some stuff that I'm really excited about, but there wasn't anything there that was like had like real impact. Like there was a huge surprise because I feel like Dead Island 2, as much as it was a great ending to the show, it wasn't like a real hype game that everyone went mental for. But there was still a good range of stuff in there, and nice to see some deeper dives on some of the games that have been announced.
Agreed. Yeah, I think all said and done, at the very least, a solid presentation, which, is that's good enough. That's the bar you need to hit. I think this is easily one of those ones you can chalk up to like everybody who watched this. I think will walk away interested in at least one of these games. Whether or not it's the first time you've seen it, I guess, is a different question. But can't make everybody happy all the time. So if you want to write in and let us know your thoughts on any of these games, let us know. What were your standout announcements? What was your game of the show? Any of that kind of stuff. We're interested to hear from you. You can keep the conversation with us rolling over on our Discord, where we every single week have a thread where we discuss the past week's episode. Speaking of which, if you haven't already, go check out yesterday's episode where we gave our impressions / review in progress on both Rollerdrome and Cult of the Lamb, two of the hottest indie games out right now. Go check out our sister shows, Nintendo Noise and the Steam Deck podcast, and all the other cool stuff we got going on. Our sister channel, go check out the Twitch streams. We've got Steve's current original playthrough, of Shenmue going up an episode a day right now, so that tickles your fancy. You can go check that out. But if you want to find links to all of these things, including our Patreon, all the other places you can find us, head over to flipscreen.games. That's our website, and of course, the easiest way to find us wherever we are. So, for the show, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week. I got it right this time. Yesterday I fucked it up, but this time I was right. That's right.